What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of this. Have you ever considered making your own magazine, but you didn't do it because scary software can be scary? I got a fix for that. Let's go. So it's no secret that I like magazines. That just happens to be the only two that I have here handy, but I have lots. I love magazines, I love reading magazines, I love making magazines, and magazines is one of the things that I do best. So much so that I started a whole company based around the idea of building editorial type products for people to use so they can go and build their own magazine using the templates in InDesign so that you can do your thing. And I wanted you to be able to do that too, but maybe, just maybe, that is intimidating as hell. I don't know how to use Adobe InDesign, Dave. How do you expect me to use Adobe InDesign? It's such a scary program. But I'm telling you, it's not. It's actually one of the easiest programs that Adobe has available. Once you get the basics down, you'll never, well, maybe not never, you probably won't use anything else to do your page layout ever again. So what I decided to do is create a few short tutorials to get you through InDesign the easiest way so that you don't have to worry about all the things that you're worried about. So you could go and make your own magazine, make your own zine, make your own lookbook, make your own catalog, whatever that might be. I'm gonna help you with the little details, then you can go and build upon that later. For this next part, I'm gonna jump away from this screen right here and jump back down into this screen down here that you can't see at the moment, but it's my screen, and we're gonna go tutorial direct to InDesign. Before we begin, welcome to tomorrow. I say that because I had to stop the video, re-record. The video I did before of this was great, it was good, but it didn't quite cover all the bases, and so I want to make sure that we cover all the bases. I'm recording in the future. You might have noticed anyway, because if you see me, I got a hat on. Put the hat on because it's so hot in my studio. I felt like I was gonna be sweating all over my keyboard and I didn't want to short it out. Let's get on with the show. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is color and how color works within InDesign. That might seem like a weird place to start within InDesign, but when you are talking about building a product, whatever that might be, whether it's a magazine or booklet or whatever, if you're building something, it's a good idea to have certain aspects in check already, and one of those things should be color. So we're going to talk about color today and how to get color into your pages or how to change what you've already got, and then we can move on to the other topics in another video. So now you can do this a couple of different ways. You can get in InDesign a couple of different ways. You could create new if you wanted to go that route, or you can open a document. For our purposes, I'm going to go ahead and open up a document. InDesign templates, this one is Vivant. It's a magazine template I created specifically for people who want to build their own magazine. This one's kind of geared, originally the imagery is focused towards foodies, adventurous foodies and whatnot, but it can be used for anything. But anyway, so what we're here to do today is to look at these colors. Let's start with the cover, shall we? There's a couple of different color things going on. There's really three or maybe four. I don't remember exactly, but we've got obviously a very bright, brilliant pink, a little bit lighter pink here. We've got this dark bluish color, and I think one of these might be black, but I don't remember exactly. Could be. Let's see. Any of these black? No, they are all the really dark blues. But maybe you don't like those colors, and maybe you don't like anything in this color palette down here. Maybe these are all just terrible and you'd rather not have them. How are you gonna go about changing that? Or even if you just wanted to add different colors to this particular palette, which is something we are going to do, how do you go about that? It's actually a really simple process. You just need to make some changes to this palette, this swatch palette right here. So let's say, for instance, we want to change the color of the logo, the nameplate of the magazine right here. The pink, the bright, brilliant pink is what we've got here, but maybe, just maybe, you want it to be a little bit darker. Maybe it's not quite, maybe too bright is no good. Maybe you need a little bit darker. So how are we gonna do that? We're gonna go right in here and double click that one right there. One thing I like to do, and I didn't do it here, I don't know why I didn't do it, but I had this not labeled. I'd copied another color and I'd created this color, but what I like to do is name the color with the color value. I click that little thing right there, and what it does is it automatically tells me here that this is the new name. C equals 5 means C is cyan, M is magenta, yellow is yellow, Y is yellow, K is black. If you are not familiar with what CMYK means, it's basically the print process. If you were going to take this project and send it to a printer and have it done, it's all done based on dots, DPI. There's little dots, and the percentage of dots for every single inch. So in a cyan, there's gonna be 5% of cyan dots in this space for that particular color. So when the printer goes to print this Vivant logo on the page, it's gonna be 5% cyan, 95% magenta, and 35% yellow. Probably more information than you needed to know, but I'm gonna tell you because who knows, you may just be using that. Now, you may also not be doing this project for print. If you're gonna do it for web, then you would go up here and you would change it to RGB. And it's gonna go ahead and repopulate as needed. This gives you the code for that, or the hex value down here at the bottom. We're gonna focus on the print product because that's what I do. Print is what I do. So we're gonna go back up here, switch that back to CMYK. But the point of this was to change the color. Let's make it a little bit darker. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. You can go and make it darker with cyan. You can darken it up with cyan. That's one way to do it. Or you can darken it up with black. Now, the difference between these two is, number one, cyan is going to add more blue, obviously. So the result is going to be more purplish. If it's more of a green color, it's going to be more blue-green. However you go. For our purposes here, the darker it goes, the more purple it gets, or the more magenta it gets. So I like that, but I don't want it to be too purple. So I'm going to put that right about 20%. Now, maybe that's still not quite dark enough for you. So let's go in here to black and bump that sucker up to, say, I don't want to go too much, but let's just say 15, no, let's go 10%. 10% on that. The thing about black is that you got to understand that it only comes in tones of gray. When it's printing just black, it's only tones of gray. And so if you put too much in there, then you're going to get a lot of gray and it's going to muddy it up a little bit. So you have to be wary of that. So that's why it's good to mix a little bit more cyan in there for the richness of color, and then come in with the black so that you have the depth of those 4 color mixes together. So now all I got to do here, click OK, and you can see automatically it changed the color of that. But not only did it do that, it did it globally throughout the entire document. Let me see if I can find this someplace else where it was before. We've got all the other different colors popping up in here. Let's see, we're gonna look at this line real quick. That wasn't it, that's the lighter one. It's in here somewhere. But anyway, you get the point. When it's being used, if it's being used in other places, it's gonna change it globally throughout the entire document. Like say you just decided all of a sudden you wanted to change that color to something different. Well, you don't have to worry about going and finding every single instance of that color. You can just go change it here in the swatch palette and that will change it for you. Now, when you're working with the colors inside the whatever it is, the document that you're using, you're gonna see that maybe you want to tint that, meaning you want to back it down a little bit. You want it to be the same color richness, but you don't want it to be quite as bright. And so you can come up here into the swatch palette and you can click and drag this and it will lighten it up as much as you want, all the way down to white, if you want to go that route. That's one way to do this, but here's the thing. Now that is only occurred in this one particular instance. So let me give you an example. Let's go back. I'm gonna add this. I'm gonna add a little box right here. I'm gonna fill it with that same color. Okay. So now if I'm here and I go and I tint this one down to 30%, then it's only changed that one. Maybe that's what you want, maybe it's not. If you do want to change the 30% down on that particular one, you're gonna have to do that for every single instance, or change the color to match that. Okay, so now you've changed the color here, you made it lighter, but maybe you want to change all the circumstances for that particular purple to this particular lightish, pinkish, whatever that color is. That mauve, I don't know. I don't know names of colors. Maybe you want to change it globally instead of having to worry about, oh, I got to go back in here and change this and lower the tint down to 30% and, oh, I didn't get it just right. I don't want to worry about that. What if I want to change everything to this? I can't just grab this and just start bringing it around. Can't drag this over here, put it there. How am I going to get that exact tint right there and have it permanent within the thing? Or how am I going to change this one to match that? Because the minute that I go to click on this again, it goes right back to where it was. We don't want that. Go over here to your tools palette and the color and double click that, and then it's going to open this up. This works a little different in Photoshop and Illustrator than it does here in InDesign, so you need to pay attention to this. Normally in InDesign or Photoshop, if you were to grab the eyedropper, it would just automatically follow you around the page until you find the color that you were looking for. For InDesign, you need to click and drag until you find it, right? And I'm dragging it right up into there, and I know I'm in that space because I can see it right down here in this box. That's what I'm looking for. This is the important part. You want to add CMYK swatch, and what that does is you can see down here in the swatch palette, it dropped it right down here to the bottom, just like that. Now I've got this color palette. I can change that one to that one, or even better, I can do this. If I wanted to do this, I could go and I could take this one, the one that was the original color, and I could bring it, drag it right down here to the trash can. Now it's gonna ask me, you have this in other places. Are you sure you want to delete it? And if you're gonna delete it, which one do you want me to replace it with? Well, we're gonna go find that pinkish one right there, boom. Click OK, and now every single time that that color shows up in the entire magazine, whatever you're doing, has already changed to that color palette. Good times. Now this is a little side topic on that particular notion. If I wanted to say use a whole gradated list of colors based on core colors, meaning if I wanted to use like the different saturation levels of a particular hue, say for instance cyan, black, or magenta, or yellow. If I wanted to use particular saturation levels of that particular hue, I could change this right here, and let's say this is pure 100% cyan, and I could again go down here like this. But what if I thought that maybe I might use multiple versions of that throughout the entire document? I don't necessarily want to have to go and change it every single time, and if I do change it, I want to be able to adapt it and edit it as I go. One thing that I like to do, you don't have to do this as many times as I do, but this is what you could do. Cyan, there we go. Click and drag that cyan to there, click and drag that cyan to there, click and drag that cyan to there, click and drag that cyan to there. Okay, so that's 5 different versions of cyan. I don't need 5 different versions. I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna change this to, let's say, 80%. Then I'm gonna go in here, double click this one, change this one to 60%. This one to 40%, and then this one 20%. You could go super deep on this. You could go every 5% or 10% if you wanted, or just do halves. I don't care. 50% and 100%. That's up to you. Now this way I can go and I can change this to whichever hue. Oh, it's already tinted down. Let's do this. Change that back up to 100. So that's cyan regular. That's 80, 60, 40, 20. That's basically what we're looking at here. That's one way to go about it, so that way you can go and alter that. Like, okay, maybe I don't like the 40%. Maybe it needs to be 37.5. Boom. You done it. And it changed it again globally throughout the whole document. That's something I do usually with blacks, not with cyan, magenta, or yellow, but usually with black, because you never know when you're gonna need a varying grade. You can see I kind of have some of that here. I do that on pretty much all my documents. Not necessarily, it varies depending on each one. It's totally up to you, your call. Just a little pro tip. All right, now let's talk about getting other color palettes into your already proven document. Maybe you love this document as is, but the colors ain't working for you. This entire color palette just sucks. I'm gonna save this one real quick. Now, you know, I'm just gonna delete it. We're gonna delete it all. We're gonna delete every single, except for that black, we need that black. We're gonna delete it all of it. Yes, everything to, oh, this is gonna suck. Okay, there we go. Everything to black. Everything's black and white. Everything's great. Hey, if you're into that whole monochromatic thing, boom, there you go, you got it. Oh, that hurts a little bit, but we're gonna fix that right here, right now. Maybe you don't know exactly what your color palette should be, and you haven't figured it out, and just picking colors at random may not necessarily work for you. Like, it may seem like, oh, I'll pick this pink, and this blue, and this brown, and this yellow, and those seem to be like they're gonna work together, but maybe they don't. So how do you figure out a color palette to bring in if you don't know what those colors should be? Perfect opportunity to go search the web for hours on end. I'm gonna go move over here to a website, a couple of different websites I'm gonna teach you about. This particular one is Color Lovers. I used to come here all the time. They have all kinds of crazy palettes and patterns that you can choose from. I'm not a big fan of this website anymore because it's just chock full of ads and stuff. If I have all these ads to figure my way around, then I'm not exactly getting a really good perspective of those color tones. So I'm not a big fan of that, but the beauty of this is that this is a community-driven website, and so people are building these color palettes, and so it's a social thing. If you're into that, get down with your bad self. The one that I appreciate is actually called Design Seeds, and it's design-seeds.com, and their blog, actually I want to go here, their blog is really in-depth. This has been their thing for years. All they do is color palettes and color tones and color trends and everything like that. You just scroll through this, just colors after colors after colors after colors, and they have them like organized by type and color and collection, seasons, what you find in nature, like all these different things, right? They have all these things, and they have other things you can buy and whatnot. I went ahead and picked this particular one because I really like these color tones. This is an image. You can see it's an image. I click and drag it, it's an image. you can save that image for yourself and then bring it into your document so that way you can grab it, or you can just go and get the color hex codes right here. These color hex codes, again, they're typically made for screen resolution, screen color, but they may equate to cyan or CMYK or print versions too. Not always 100%. Print can never fully capture certain like richness of like the cyans or the magentas. Like certain colors just don't work in printed nature. Anyway, I went ahead and already grabbed these two. I'm gonna go ahead and import them right in here. So I'm just quickly importing. We'll talk about how to import stuff later, but I've got these in here right like that. All right, so now I can do this a couple of different ways. I can go and I can just add a new swatch, go back over here to the swatch palette, click that little button right there. It added a black copy. I double click that, and if I, oops, let's zoom in here a little bit so I can read these, okay? So now I double click that again. Don't want it to say black copy. I'm gonna name with the value. I'm gonna change it to, okay. So I gotta, if I wanna use the hex code, I've gotta switch to RGB. And now this isn't black, but it's close to black. So I'm gonna type that number in there right like that. 323B40. Boom, just like that. Now, that's RGB color. I don't want that to be RGB color. I want it to be cyan, or yeah, I want it to be CMYK colors. Back up here, switch to CMYK, and it's given me these kind of crazy percentages. The print shop is probably not gonna dig that. This is exactly what I was talking about. This particular color probably won't be exact when it comes to printing. So you're gonna go 75, you're gonna go, let's say 63, round up, make that 57, and then 49. Okay, there is your new color. You've grabbed this one right here and made it into a palette on the, or a swatch on your palette. But let's do this easier. I got a mustache hair in my mouth. Thankfully, it's my mustache. Remember what we did? When we did the color picker thing, we grabbed it and we picked the colors like that. Okay, so I'm gonna go over here, back over to the tools palette. I'm gonna click that main thing right there, the box, swatch, pot, whatever. The color picker, click. Remember, you gotta drag. You gotta click and drag. You can't just click it. And then over the color that you want, it's given me the approximate hex code down here, but I'm more, again, concerned about CMYK. Add swatch. I'm gonna do that again for this golden color. Add CMYK swatch. I'm gonna do it again for this rich blue. Add swatch. For this cerulean type blue. And then for this gray blue down here. I'm gonna drag this sucker right down here in the middle, just so you can see exactly what we're looking at here. Like this out. Boom. Just to experiment, let's do something here. I'm gonna go here, 1, 2, 3, let's see. Just created several little boxes right there. We're gonna go that, we're gonna go there, that, there, that, there, that, there, that, there, that, there. Color palette, brand new color palette. Now, the downside is now you got to go back in. The way I did this, let's go and delete these. I'm done with these. I've got my color palette. I don't need them anymore. So now I would have to go back in, change Vivant here to, oh, I don't know, that color right there, but let's bring that up to 100%. Change the thing on that to that one, and change the type on that one like that. And they go through the whole document all over again. That's one way to go about it. The other way to go about it would be to do this whole process that you did here when you have the other palette already in place, and just replace that other palette with this palette. Let me show you exactly what I mean by that. So I'm gonna take this one, I'm gonna change this to a completely different color altogether. I'm gonna just pick one completely random. I'm gonna add that swatch right there. Don't necessarily need this. It actually works with this color, but whatever. I'm gonna take this, I don't want this, I don't want this color, I want this color above it. So I'm gonna click that, I'm gonna drag it right on top of that box. See how that's lit up a little bit like that, see? Boom. And you notice it went right back to that. So you have your old palette in here, you have your old palette in here, you have your new palette that you've just created, and you just click and drag those things to take over the colors that you want them to take over. There you go. Full-blown color palette overhaul, all perfectly customizable by you. And now you gotta go and do all the rest of the hard work, like fill this whole thing up with pictures and text. No problem. All right, folks, that is it for this particular first introduction video color thing for InDesign. We will talk about other stuff in future videos. The next one, we're gonna talk about fonts, we're gonna talk about paragraph styles, character styles, and all of those fun things. I guarantee you it sounds horrible, but it will make your life so much easier, especially when you're building something robust like a magazine, zine, or anything that's multi-page like this. It will make your life so much better. And yeah, we're gonna get into that next time. One last thing before I go, if you are interested, you just wanna go jump right into this Vivant template right here, you can do so on my other website, tigerheromedia.com. You can go check it out. I'll put a link in the description. You can have this magazine ready to go. Just start knocking out those magazine, zine pages, brochure, lookbook pages, whatever you want. You got that one. There's another one on there called Bug Out. I'm creating new ones all the time, so go check them out. Again, tigerheromedia.com. Then you can get started and jump right in. And if you have questions along the way, feel free to hit me up anytime and I will gladly answer them, at least until I get all these videos done, and then I can just point you to the videos. All right, folks, that's it. I'm out. Remember, be good today, be better tomorrow. See ya. Woo, it's hot.